I was looking at the some of the YouTube remarks and several old school rules. I wish my father wasn't a cunt. I wish you were my dad. You're my alpha male model. I wish my dad wasn't a cunt. Now, it doesn't make me feel any better that I get those. It makes me feel not unhappy. That would be an exaggeration because I don't really give a fuck if they all die, really. But if I was a disingenuous success coach, I would tell you how it gets to me, but it doesn't. But it validates, not that I need any fucking validation after all these years, that the world's fucked up. Donald Trump, is a validation that the world's fucked up on several levels. Not because he's been so popular, but because he gets away with the shit he gets away with. People apparently don't care if he misspeaks. He does it because they're so sick of the politicians, because they know every politician's a whore, whether he's black, yellow, Chinese, or whatever, and they're just going to lie to get into office. But that's been since George Washington. And if you don't do that, and one of my deals, our big 4 accounting firm just pulled out. In the middle, right in the middle of a deal. Now, the little kid, the you in the deal, I'm surprised he didn't cut his throat. And we're going to talk about how you fix that. But all this time, and they're down to the short strokes, because QLA is like sex. It all comes at the end. And now they pull out. All the months, the hours, the years in some cases, the little kid is in with a tidy bowl man. He just sees his toilet going around and around as his deal is getting flushed. Now this is when you step up like you had a fucking pair. Which you don't. And God willing, Allah willing, his board's going to stand up. So even when you do all this right, for the first time in your miserable fucking lives, one phone call, one email, one whatever the fuck those things are called, can flush it, whoo, down the toilet. And then what do? You hope to fucking God, Allah, Buddha, that you got somebody on your board who's got a pair. And if you've done right, and if you follow the program and you follow the steps, you will. Hopefully you're chairman. But if you haven't and you've taken shortcuts, some of the other comments from the kids. By the way, the lights went off and on about 5, 6, 7 times this morning. And my fear is that my electric alarm clock, it'll go off in the middle of the night and then I won't get up. So I have 3 alarm clocks. 2 wind them. And then my next fear is that I forgot to wind them. But some of the other kids had comments. They wanted to know if this was a QLA hardcore or a QLA. This is a QLA regular. It's not a hardcore seminar. Somebody wanted to know if I sold QLA barf bags, which we haven't got to in the seminar yet, but they're up here. You know how go on an airline, there's a barf bag in front? Well, we give QLA barf bags, so when you throw up, which some of you will, if you haven't already. No, we don't sell QLA barf bags for the kids that were wondering about that. They're wondering, and by the way, I said again, the people are standing up, not because they have a dunce cap on, because they did something wrong. It's because they're, they don't want to fall asleep or they don't want to get tired, and the they're more likely to be able to pay attention if they're standing up. So it's not a punishment of any kind for you, any of you guys. Last night you saw a film on fear, right? And if I remember correctly, a doofus couple is walking down there. That's an alley, so why would they be walking down that fucking alley? But anyway, that's walking down the alley, and some guy pops out from around the corner, and I can't remember, is he Hispanic or black or Hispanic? So one of my fucking dirtbag relatives, and he comes out, and then it goes through the process of what's happening and what he does. And now, give me two or three of you, what's the takeaway from that little skit?
Just the fact that, like, with your amygdala, it's designed to give you that fight or flight kind of sensation, but that you can teach yourself to control it.
Yeah, okay. That's a little too pure of an answer. I'm not into. Okay, what else? How many would have done what he did? Oh, we got some brave fuckers now, huh? You're so full of shit. You're all fucking... the urine. I could see the urine coming down the inside of your fucking... Oh.
I don't think he really does anything.
No, that's exactly the point. That's exactly, But, I mean, I would handle that all different. I mean, I would have taken that knife. He had a knife, right? What did he have? I would have stuck that up his fucking Mexican ass and cut his stomach out from the inside out. But most people would have not done anything. Or run. And it's, but the whole fear setup, and we're going to talk about that today, a little after lunch, about how you can train. And as I said, Teddy Roosevelt, who was apparently not as brave as he became in later life, former president, trained himself. He used to put himself in with his back against the wall. Dick DeCina, the ultra guy, whatever the fuck he does, he tells people, I'm going to run 5 billion miles, I'm going to do 4 billion push-ups, knowing I can't, to put my back against the wall. So I got no choice. And you've been trained by your parents and their parents to do just the opposite. To not overextend yourself because you're going to be embarrassed, what are people going to think, yada, yada. And I've done all my life, and I'm sure it's because I had a rough, tough fucking alpha male for a father. I mean, he just, I did stuff that was pretty crazy. And because in hindsight, as a 70-year-old man, as opposed to when I was, 15, 18, or 20, is because I wasn't the toughest guy in my neighborhood. I was trying to prove myself to the tough guys in my neighborhood, We'll send Danny in. We'll see if he can pick a fight with the Marines. Well, I mean, anybody can pick a fight with Marines. They like to fight, so, I mean, it wasn't much of a challenge. But when I think about going in and pouring a pitcher of beer on the biggest Marine's fucking boot in the fucking pool hall, I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. But the point is, I wasn't thinking. And the point is, you think too much. You think too much. You think through the permutations. You spread, well, they used to say Lotus 1, 2, 3 stuff to death. Now you spreadsheet shit to death. You do all the permutations, and the permutations are procrastination, so you don't have to pull the trigger, you don't have to make a decision. And some of you have gone all through life doing calculations and never done anything. Now, I've only met with 7 of you so far, 6 of you. And pretty much you're all spreadsheet guys. We used to teach this course like an MBA course, rates of return in the beginning, in the first few seminars. 1, nobody understood it. 2, I realized, I knew before that it's really not important. None of that shit's important. And that's what's so special about this hardcore seminar that we did, the one by serendipity, by accident, because I stuck my big foot in my mouth saying, gee, I wonder if we could have one over Christmas. And then lo and behold, we had 25 people sign up. But I have never been a detail-oriented person. I'm a 60,000-foot guy. Concorde. Am I the only guy that's flown Concorde in here? Probably. Okay, but 60,000 foot, and you can see the curvature of the Earth, and that it's really neat, kind of neat. But I've always been that kind of guy, and not too much worried about the details. But the only detail that you have to know about QLA, and we don't talk about it for a couple of days, is that free cash flow. Now listen to this, mutton heads on YouTube. Free cash flow has to cover debt service. That's the only thing you need to know. Free motherfucking cash flow. I mean free cash flow, because some of you think you know how to calculate cash flow and you don't. Free cash flow. Free cash flow is unencumbered cash flow by anything else. That's the only thing you need to know. And all the other rates of return and all the formulas, your fucking board will know how to do. If you pick them right. If you pick them right. Depending on what industry you decide to go into, whether they're, and the people that have the most trouble with this, and I've told you before, are engineers, accountants, scientists. Because you have been trained to want to know why E equals MC squared. Is everybody, never mind, well, E equals MC squared was the formula that Einstein came up with, the theory of relativity. Why you all look like you don't know what I'm talking about? Anyway, okay. Now see, when I used to read stuff, which I don't anymore, I used to read Scientific American. Not the shit you read. Brian the Rose, thank you, Brian. He mentions me in one of his email today that he sends out to 42 billion people. Dear Dan, it's really addressed to me. That I think that marketing system on the internet is insulting. Not because of Brian, but everybody does the same thing. They try to personalize it by saying, "Dear dipshit," and that started about 7, 8, 9 years ago. And then, of course, there was a book written about 10 or 12 years ago called Permission Marketing, and I don't know if it's still around. But as Grant Cardone told me in my interview, hello, Grant, if the people aren't complaining, you're not sending them enough fucking emails. And if you're not getting unsubscribed people, a lot of them, you're not sending enough emails. Which is just the opposite of permission marketing. Permission marketing still around? No? Do you know what I'm talking about, permission marketing? You're not supposed to email people shit unless they ask for it. And unless you have an existing business relationship, don't bother them. That's not around anymore? Everybody just spams the shit out of everybody now? Oh, well, I got to get back in the business then. What the fuck? Because I was a world-class spammer back in the day. In the fucking day, I mean, if I even thought, but anyway, that's a whole other story. Okay, so the second thing you saw was what? Greed. Could anybody relate to the greed? Does anybody think that the greed was bad? Greed is good, as Gordon Gekko said in Wall Street. Greed is good. And what I'm going to tell you and teach you and pound on you week after week for the next 50 weeks or so is that to be more selfish. The reason why you're not more of a high-performance person in your life is you're not selfish enough. And I'll leave it on that. YouTubers, see you later.